Hello Anglophonians, and welcome to a new episode where we take a look at European comic culture. And this time it's Lucky Luke's turn again. We take a look at a new story about the Wild Wild West. And this one is called Lucky Luke vs. Cigarette Caesar. Lucky Luke vs. Cigarette Caesar was printed in Spirou magazine from June to October 1949. The story is a further step in the development of the artist Morris. The story is compelling and the drawings are even more detailed. But what is the story about? At the beginning, the eponymous Cigarette Caesar sits in a cell in prison, carving a piece of wood. It doesn't take long before he has made a key out of the wood, which he uses to unlock his cell door. After his breakout is noticed, the sheriff immediately sets off in pursuit. Cigarette Caesar robs a few stores and then flees across the border into Mexico. This means the sheriff can no longer follow him. But Lucky Luke happens to come along. Luke promises the sheriff that he will track down Cigarette Caesar in Mexico and get him back across the border so he can be arrested. Luke follows a clear lead in Mexico. After all, Caesar didn't get the nickname Cigarette Caesar for nothing. Luke follows Caesar and is able to confront him a few times, but Caesar always escapes capture. In a Mexican village, Cigarette Caesar teams up with a local crook and decides to set a trap for Luke. Luke is supposed to come to the corrida, the traditional bullfight. Luke not only has to deal with two crooks, but also with two bulls. And I don't want to spoil the ending too much, but Lucky Luke vs. Cigarette Caesar is the story where Lucky Luke sings the song "I'm a Poor Lonesome Cowboy" for the first time at the end while riding away. This is exactly what should be the classic ending to every Lucky Luke story from now on. In this story you can clearly see the influence of the trips that Morris took to Mexico with his colleague Julien. What he had seen and heard there helped him to draw the panel in as much details as he did now. As for the final panel with Lucky Luke riding away singing, Morris tells two versions of how it came about. Or rather, there aren't really two versions. In the first version, Morris tells what exactly inspired him to use this image to end his stories.
The idea came to me naturally when I was watching the westerns. They often ended this way, without a song. I added this as a tribute to all the music films that made me dream. I had heard these old folk songs on the radio and memorized their lyrics. You know, Lucky Luke is nothing more than a parody of the western and its clichés. And this is perhaps the biggest one.
The second version of the story is about a direct inspiration for the singing and the song itself.
Walt Disney said he invented Mickey when he was in trouble. One day, he was eating a sandwich in the garage where he worked, and a mouse climbed onto his table to eat the crumbs. My story is much more prosaic. I lived in a furnished room in Brussels. My landlady smoked a lot and sang Je suis seul ce soir, I'm Alone at Night, which was a big hit at the time. And to complete the picture, she also had bow legs and a horse's bit.
Je suis seul ce soir avec mes rêves.
The author has spoken. Let's leave it here and ask ourselves how much André Franquin's farewell may have influenced Morris's mood. If we think back, in 1948 a small group consisting of Joseph Julien, his family, Morris and André Franquin set off for the USA to find inspiration and possibly work. In the summer of 1949 the comic artist Franquin longed for home. Morris and he traveled through the USA to New York, where Franquin booked a ship passage to Europe. Upon his return, Franquin's career was to receive a real boost, but that is another story, to be told another time. And Morris stayed back in the USA to see and experience even more. But that too is another story and should be told another time. So there you have it. Lucky Luke. The stories are evolving and evolving. Next time we take a look again at the Europa Park and then at some new comic. But until then, take good care of yourself and see you.